Good morning, students. I am RASHMI JETA, TGT English from KV Damo. First and foremost, I must thank and be grateful to the people in Regional Office Jabalpur for providing us an opportunity to interact with all the students of the region. Children, today I am going to take up class 8th lesson, poem number 1, that is The Ant and the Cricket, and it is from the NCERT book Honeydew. As the name is self-evident, it is a poem based on the two characters of the world, that is the ant and the cricket. It is a symbolic poem. The ant is the symbol of hard work, patience, and to work for future, whereas the cricket is a symbol of merrymaking, joy, and happiness. It is not a hard worker, nor does it do anything to save things for future. So these are the two symbols where the poet, he tries to give us a message, and this message is very important. Now we come to the reading of the poem. Now, students, we come to the text of the poem, The Ant and the Cricket. A silly young cricket, accustomed to sing through the warm, sunny months of gay summer and spring, began to complain when he found that at home his cupboard was empty and winter was come. Not a crumb to be found on the snow-covered ground. Not a flower could he see, not a leaf on a tree. Oh, what will become, says the cricket, of me? At last by starvation and famine made bold, all dripping with wet and all trembling with cold, away he set off to a miserly ant, to see if, to keep him alive, he would grant him shelter from rain and a mouthful of grain. He wished only to borrow. He would repay it tomorrow. If not, he must die of starvation and sorrow. Says ant to the cricket, I am your servant and friend. But we ants never borrow. We ants never lend. But tell me, dear cricket, did you lay nothing by when the weather was warm? Quoth the cricket, not. My heart was so light that I sang day and night, for all nature looked gay. You sang, sir, you say? Go then, says the ant, and dance the winter away. Thus ending, he hastily lifted the wicket, and out of the door turned the poor little cricket. Folks call this a fable. I'll warrant it true. Some crickets have 4 legs and some have 2. After the reading has been done, now the poem, it is a fable. The poem is a fable, that means It is a narrative poem that has a story. The poet, he wants to tell us something, a great message through this poem. Now, a fable is a poem that has, it may be a story too, that has the animals as characters. And in India, these fables are Panchtantra. So you can relate the Panchtantra and this fable. This poem is an adaptation from Aesop's fables. It is a short poem, but it has a world of meaning and a world of teaching in it. A silly young cricket. He was accustomed to sing. It was a foolish cricket, a cricket that always loved to sing in the summer morn. It cared little to keep things or reserve things for future. It was only and only it lived for the present. It never saved anything for the adverse circumstances in future. So, one day, when he realized that the summer is gone and there is the winter around, the grass, it was nowhere because it was covered by the sheet of snow. And when he looks into his cupboard, he hasn't kept anything for his future, nothing to eat, and he could not look for fresh food. So what does he do? He is very much disturbed. He is very much in a perplexed situation. And then it realizes that it must go to help. It must seek a help, and it goes to the ant. Now the ant is a symbol of discipline, loyalty and hard work. Now connect these teachings or the things that we learn from the ant to the class 7th lesson, the tiny teacher. Now the ants, they have a storehouse for their food. So it went to the ant and it asked that since I have not kept anything for this winter season, for this adverse situation, so I need your help. And it asks the ant for some help in the form of food, but it says that it will repay him, the ant. It is only a borrowing. And then when it went to the ant, he was almost dying of starvation, dripping with the water, so wet, and that too in the winter season. It knocked at the door of the ant. And he said that he only needed for a few months the food. Then the ant said, "Let me ask you one thing. What did you do when the weather and the season was favorable? What did you do when it was the summer season? The season was good, the weather was good, the sun was bright." Then he carelessly, the cricket, carelessly and carelessly he replies, "Well, I'm very fond of singing and dancing. So seeing such a nice weather, I sang and danced the whole summer season. And since there was plenty of food in and around, he did not care to keep the things or to store the food for winter or any adverse situation. Maybe it a natural calamity of floods or whatever it was. Then the ant replies, we ants, we neither borrow nor we lend. That means they are self-sufficient. This is one of the characteristic of the ant that is displayed in this poem. We ants neither borrow nor we lend. And what did you say, sir? You danced throughout the summer season? The cricket replied, yes, I danced throughout the summer season. Then again the ant it said, see, we are your servants and your friend. That means there is an underlying satire that it is not the servant. The ant is not the servant of the cricket. So it says that now since you danced throughout the summer season, now you dance out the winter. Now dance out the winter, it has two implications. One is, at that time you were dancing with joy, now you dance with sorrow because there is no one to help you. I'm not going to help you. And then he put the cricket out of its home by quickly lifting the wicket and closing the door. And there lay the cricket. But the last two lines of the poem, they convey to us the message that cricket was of four legs. But some crickets, they have two legs and they too behave in the same manner. That means there is pun, there is irony for the human beings who behave in the same manner. They do not take any lesson from the past. They live only and only in the present, ignoring plans for future. So, if a person is not systematic, if a person is not methodical in his approach for future, then remember that person, he is or she is bound to suffer. Now we come to the various elements in the poem. It is a poem that is a narrative. It is a poem that is didactic. And we have a lot of usage of the adjectives to describe the circumstances, the situation, the attitude of the ant and the attitude of the cricket. Adjectives that have been used, they are trembling, starvation, bold, famine, then snow-covered ground, sorrow, etc. And the rhyming words that we have in the poem, the rhyme scheme of the poem is very good. The rhyming words that we have in the poem are spring and sing, home and come, found and ground, sea, tree and me, bold, cold, and grant, borrow, tomorrow, sorrow. So all these are the rhyme schemes or the rhyming words that have been used in the poem. Now what is a rhyme? A rhyme is that we have the same set of sounds at the end of the sentence or the line.
and they are the same always, like sorrow, borrow. So these are the rhyming words that have been used in the poem. Now we come to the vocabulary and the question and answers, that is working with the text.
Now we come to the vocabulary part of this poem. The first word is accustomed, meaning used to. Second word is quoth, meaning said. Third, famine, scarcity of water and food, a natural calamity. Next is hastily, meaning quickly. Folks, people or friends. Lend, to give. Starve, hunger. Trembling, meaning shaking. Miserly, stingy. Crumb, a piece or morsel of food. Silly, foolish. Shelter, refuge. Repay, return. Sorrow, grief. Borrow, to take. Grant, to give. That's all for this vocabulary. Now students, we come to the working with the text of the poem, The Ant and the Cricket. Question number 1 is, the cricket says, "Oh, what will become of me?" When does he say it and why? The answer to this is, the cricket says these lines when he realizes that circumstances were adverse. Winter had arrived and he had nothing to eat. His cupboard was empty and the ground too was covered with snow. There was nothing for his livelihood and survival. Now children, we come to question number 2 and its first part. Find in the poem the lines that mean the same as neither a borrower nor a lender be. Answer is, we ants never borrow or lend. Now the next question is, what is your opinion of the ants' principles? The answer to it is, the ants' principle as a framed rule is apt. It exhorts all of us to plan the adverse circumstances in advance. It asks us to be prepared to face challenges and dare to act accordingly. So, it is something that we must learn from the ants' principles, and it is always challenging to follow such rules. Now we come to question number 3. The ant tells the cricket to dance the winter away. Do you think the word dance is appropriate here? If so, why? The answer to this question number 3 is, the word dance used by the ant expresses pun and irony. The cause cited by the cricket for not working and storing food during favorable season and circumstances was that he was engaged in merrymaking as he was joyous. So the ant asking him to dance the winter away means he will run from pillar to post for help, and now he should dance the winter away. Now, question number 4 is, which lines in the poem express the poet's comment? Read them aloud. Answer is, some crickets have 4 legs and some have 2. Now we come to second part of question number 2. The question is, write the comment in your own words. It is a satire on the merrymaking, careless attitude of human beings. The poem is educative and didactic. We must learn from the past, act for the present, and be prepared for future. Now we come to how to write a general note on the poem. First, name the poem and the poet. Mention the type of poem, example, didactic, descriptive, or philosophical. Mention the central idea or the theme of the poem. And there should be specific mention of rhyme, simile, metaphor, personification, etc. Now we come to the general note on this poem, that is The Ant and the Cricket. The Ant and the Cricket is a poem adapted from Aesop's Fables. It is a narrative poem as it expresses the central idea through a story. The story is of the ant and the cricket. It so happened that on a winter morning, the cricket was starving due to hunger and cold. His cupboard was empty, without any morsel of food. The ground was covered with snow, and there was no vegetation. In this adverse situation, the cricket went to ant for help. The ant asked it what he had done during the summer season. The cricket enjoyed singing and dancing all through the joyous days. He did not work for any awkward situation that might befell on him. On hearing this, the ant said that they neither lend nor borrow, so now he should dance the winter away. This poem conveys a very realistic message that one does not have an eye on future, he is destined to suffer. It is a didactic poem with good rhyme scheme. There is a lot of usage of adjectives that make the writing beautiful.
Now children, after going through this poem, writing the vocabulary, the question and answers, then a general note, and if you follow the rules, then you will find that to understand a poem is easy. You can understand, you can evaluate a poem, and I hope that this attempt of mine to teach you a poem in class 8th, that is The Ant and the Cricket, I have succeeded in my mission if you have completely understood everything. Thank you once again.